Welcome back to my channel, and today we are actually going to be cooking something instead of testing a recipe. What I thought about is sauerkraut, and this is sort of like a sour cabbage that is very popular in Eastern Europe. And around this time I was supposed to be seeing my family, but because of the quarantine it got cancelled, so I thought why not to bring some dish from home and cook it together with you. So sauerkraut actually has a lot of variations. Some of it is made with cabbage and apples, some of it is just made with cabbage, some of it has cabbage and onions, some of it has cabbage and carrots. Like, variations are endless depending on the specific culture or region in Eastern Europe where you go. But today we're going to be cooking the recipe that my grandmother does, and that one includes the cabbage and the carrot. So let's go over all the ingredients that we're going to need. There's actually not that many of them, and this is the beauty of this dish. We're going to need a cabbage. This is approximately like a pound or a little bit more, 600 grams, something like that. We need one carrot. Then we are also going to need 2 tablespoons of salt, 1 tablespoon of sugar, and a liter of boiling water. And this is about it. So very basic, simple ingredients. So let's get started on our recipe. Okay, so the first step, we're going to put a liter of boiling water into the bowl. To the same bowl, we're going to add 2 teaspoons of salt and 1 teaspoon of sugar. Then we're going to stir the mixture and set it aside for now. As our next step, we will start peeling the carrot, just removing all the excess skin and preparing it for grating. We're going to take a grater, and here it's really important to take a really small size grater, because that's gonna split the carrot in small pieces, and this is exactly what we're looking for. Once we're done grating the carrots, they sort of gonna be like tiny and thin and grated well, and then we're gonna take them and put them into the bowl where we did our mixture. In the next step, we're gonna work with our cabbage and actually slice it. And the secret here is that we're going to be slicing it super thin and super small pieces. This is really important to get that nice sauerkraut. So for our cabbage, I'm actually switching the knives, and I'm going to be using a super big knife. This is because it's easier. First, I'm going to chop it into sort of big circles and big slices. Then I'm gonna set half aside and just take these slices and start chopping them into small pieces. Chopping this cabbage is probably going to be the most labor-intensive step, but you don't have to get it perfect. The pieces could be a bit asymmetric, that's perfectly fine. Okay, I'm done with my cabbage, and as you'll see that this is quite a lot and it will feel a lot, but that's okay. What we'll do now is just use this sort of wooden spatula to give it a nice stir and a nice mix to make sure that the liquid penetrates the cabbage and it's all nicely coated. You'll see that the cabbage is different pieces. Some of them are wider, some of them are longer. This is totally fine. It only makes it more fun. Okay, our cabbage is all mixed up with the mixture. It already tastes pretty good because I just tried it. What we will do now is we'll take the cabbage and we will sort of squish it into the jars. And here we'll need to make sure that we do squish it super tightly, so not leaving any space. So let's get going on this step. So you take your spoon and first you start sort of putting it in the jar, and once you sort of can reach the bottom with your spoon, just make sure to like press the cabbage against the bottom so that it's all added to the jar very tightly. And you can see that all of my cabbage is really tight in the jar. It's pressed in there. That's how it should be looking like. My jars are already full, and from the amount of product that we used, I was able to do about these 2 jars and half of this one. And here you can see that it's not really full, but you should still sort of squeeze it to the very bottom and squeeze it as much as you can. I also wanted to mention the liquid, because once you fill in your jars, you will have some liquid left. You can pour in a little bit, but you don't have to like fully pour in the liquid into the cabbage, as it will generate enough juice on its own to ferment. So our next step will be to take these lids and actually close the jars And what we'll do with the jars, we will leave it on the counter in the warm place for 3 days. My suggestion would be to put some kind of tray or some kind of big bowl under it, because it's possible that when the cabbage ferments, it might generate some liquid, so it might actually leak. I will use this big bowl and I'm just gonna put my jars into it and leave it on the counter for 3 days. And in 3 days we'll check our cabbage. There will be one more step and our sauerkraut will be ready. One interesting fact about the sauerkraut and where it came from is that it was a way to store food in Eastern Europe. Before frozen food and refrigerators, cabbage was something that people grew quite often in their own backyard, and they were looking for the ways to preserve it, so they would use this method to keep the food fresher for a longer time. Okay, so wait for 3 days and I'll see you then, and we'll check on our cabbage. Hi, welcome back. It's actually been 3 days since we started our sauerkraut and it's time to check on it. Here I have it. Let's take a look. All right, we're all ready to open our sauerkraut, and this is exactly what we'll do. We'll open the jar, and this is how it's gonna look like inside. So you will see that it's sort of slightly brownish or darkish on the top. That's okay. We're going to completely remove that layer from the jar so that we only have the layer that was actually in the liquid. To remove the layer that is on the top, we're going to take a spoon and just gently start scooping in and removing the top layer. We'll keep on removing the top layer until all the brown pieces are gone and you have these beautiful fermented cabbage in the liquid. I personally love serving it with homemade falafel on the side for some crunchiness and some kick. Something important to mention is that you can keep your sauerkraut in the fridge up to 8 weeks, but just remember that you need to put it in the fridge, otherwise it's gonna go bad. So I'm gonna go enjoy my dinner. If you like the recipe, please let me know in the comments below and subscribe to the channel for more exciting content coming up. Enjoy your dinner. Until next time.